What's up, guys? My name is Carlos, known as Carlos Cuts, and some of you guys may have known me for quite some time now. Some of you guys are finding out about who I am, and in this video, I'm basically just going to talk about my transition from being a barber to a hairdresser, hairstylist, however you want to call it. Basically, my journey. Okay, so I kind of want to talk about just my background a little bit. I started cutting hair when I was in high school. I was 15 years old, and I did not think for sure not settled that I was going to be a barber until my senior year, and I was already 4 years in to being a barber. 4 years in being a barber, if I were to restart like my whole career to what I know now, to just start again, I would get to the same position I am right now in a year, and I'm not even joking. Even less than a year, depending how bad you really want it, you could really do this shit in like 6 months to a year. I'm explaining to you guys a little bit of what I had to go through in order to transition and kind of open my eyes to what this industry really has to offer outside of just being a barber. When I was just being a barber, I was posting content that had no meaning. I was posting content just hoping to go viral because it was a good before and after. Nothing that transitioned into higher end clients. My skill set was not at the point where I was able to bring in high end clients, so that's why I was losing clientele. I had trouble being booked out, and I couldn't provide consistent work, which is super important. And you guys have to realize that you still have to take care of the people that sit in your chair, keeping you busy. You know, your dailies, your weeklies, your bi-weeklies, whatever it is. And not just that, but also the business side of it, keeping everything professional, not letting anything slide, making sure they pay before they leave the shop or your studio, booking link, knowing how to all of this plays in together, and this is what I struggled with when I first started my barber journey, and this is who I've become. You guys see my transition, and just me growing more and more into this industry, how I have been able to build a new perception of who Carlos Cuts is. Right before, it used to be someone who was just unprofessional, just posting whatever it is, to becoming this educator that people know me as for my sheer work, my content creation, my educational videos. People are coming to me for one-on-one private classes. They're going up to me when I go out to these events, asking for help, for advice, and it was not easy. Everything I went through in order to become this person right here, and this person right here is now able to have the freedom of time to do more stuff with my life. And I feel like that's why all of us go into this barber journey, whether we're coming from 9 to 5 or like graduating school. We kind of realize that whatever we were once in, we don't want to be in that same position no more. So kind of transitioning to barber is like, you get your own schedule, but then you will realize, even when you're your own boss, you could still get caught up working too much into your business and not on it. So this was me working on the business rather than in the business, and this allowed me to have so much more free time. I don't have to cut hair 7 days out of the week no more, 10 12-hour days. I cut hair 4 days out of the week, 5, and I could decide if I want to cut for a long amount of time that day or not. This has brought me partnerships from Babyless Pro when they send me out low pros, and that is all through my content creation. They'll hit you up, they like the content, they like the style of content, what's your address, we want to send you a pair of clippers. It was that easy, just being consistent. That's what brought me these fabulous sponsorships. This is what brought me this videographer that works at a news station, and you get these sick models coming through your door. Okay, and literally you have all the information out there in the internet for free. But one thing I realized that I did probably about a year ago is invest into myself. That way it could accelerate my success rate, if that makes sense. Okay, so like how I said, it took me 4 years. I've been cutting hair for 5 years. 4 years is when I realized I was actually gonna cut hair, and within that 1 year, I went from $25 to $70. Soon to be 100. Probably by the time you're watching this, I'm at $100 already. Okay, and that is by learning viral content, implementing a system that works and where you could just plug and play. And I invested into scissor work. That is going to be the whole thing about this video, or when you start seeing more of my content. I am going to express how much scissor work is important to barbering and salon. I don't know who made the term of like they should be separated. They should be merged together, because this is what's going to allow you to not only raise prices, but raise prices with confidence. Okay, raising prices with the strategy, being booked out weeks ahead, communication skills. I talk to my clients like super professional, and not just that, but these guys are my homies too. But you have to, business is business, friendship is friendship. You got to keep those two things separate. So when it comes to your job and your business, you got to be professional, and you really got to be on it. And that all leads to making 10K a month, right? I was making 6 figures at 19 years old. Did I think I was going to do that within 1 year? No. But I did have to do a momentum. Okay, I had to realize what being busy versus being productive was. Me being busy was just me cutting hair brainlessly, just working away for some money in my pocket. Me realizing that that was being busy rather than productive is when I realized to get to where I want to be, which is where I am now, I had to change something in my routine. So if I wanted to start making more money, I had to think of something else, in this case, which was content creation. That allowed me to bring in more new clients, charge higher prices, and still be booked out. Not having to have this fear of, damn, what if people stop coming to me? And fear of judgment when you get into content creation is really huge. People get very self-conscious. That's how I was. I was afraid of being behind a camera, or like just sharing my voice on the internet, which is pretty silly. And also just thinking I could do everything by myself, when having a team of just like-minded individuals is so much better, especially once you get to the position where you're leveling up. That's all you want to be surrounded by. And that's what I had to do to become this person right here, rather than hanging out with other barbers that are similar in this position. This person right here, you are gonna have to break. And it's no like bad blood, bro. It's just, some people are willing to just settle for the bare minimum, and there's some people who are meant for a higher calling, which is you watching this video. Why cutting too many heads is killing your business, right? You're kind of in this mode where you're surviving rather than growing, right? You have bills to pay, you have expenses, you have a kid, you have to pay, you have car, whatever it is. You're stuck on just trying to survive and make sure you are paying that off, which is not bad. You still have to do that, but then there's no room for growth. If you weren't to change anything right now or soon, you're still going to be in the same position a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, and you're going to look back and be like, bro, nothing's changed. I'm getting tired of the way I'm living, right? And if you don't have a system, it's going to be very hard to get freedom. And that's why you are stuck in survival mode. You don't have a system to follow. You're probably in your own head trying to figure this all out. But one thing I asked myself is, in order to get out of the position I am right now, how can I get there the fastest way possible? And that is by learning from someone who has already done what you've done, that took them so many years, and just learn from them, right? That's why my scissor works improved in like 6 months, dude, because I was willing to invest into mentors and hairstylist one-on-one classes. They told me everything of what not to do, and I didn't do it, and that's where I am right now. 3 steps to becoming number 1 is to master your craft, improve skill set, improve your shear work. My shear work is incredible. If somebody with curly hair who hasn't gotten a haircut in like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, I would be so confident in giving him a great haircut, and not only a great haircut, but something that suits him and his hair type. Not only that, I'll be able to give him a whole routine with his hair. knowing what products to apply, how soon to wash their hair, how often they should be. This all comes with improving your skill set when it comes to your shear work, bro. I will preach this so many times. Improve your shear work, invest into your shear work, buy a nice pair of scissors, because clipper work is great, fading, tapering is great. It's always going to be the bread and butter. But when you're really trying to become unique to the industry, so many barbers neglect scissors, and that automatically makes you stand out. And that's how you could build a brand. You don't want to just be known for being a barber. You don't want to just do tapers, fades, lineups. It almost becomes like a robot. Like you're gonna retire in 40 years just doing the same thing, taper fades, taper fades. It's gonna get really repetitive, and it's just gonna feel like the same thing as a 9 to 5. So building a brand, establishing yourself as a hairstylist, it opens up so much creativity into the space that we don't even realize yet. And not just that, you get to realize that everybody's head shape is really different, everybody's hair texture is really different, and everybody's hair type is really different. So everybody that comes into your chair is a new experience, and that will not lead to boredom. That will not lead to boredom, right? There's always something new. It's no longer repetition of feeling like a robot. And again, move with strategy, not emotion. You don't want to get in your feelings when you're creating content, worry about what other people have to say. If you have a goal in mind and you know you have a place to be, or you're meant for a higher calling, you got to move with the strategy. I'm here to share my strategy. I talked to you a little bit of what worked for me. I'll see you guys soon.